And here we are on a Wednesday night, the 7th of October. Welcome to the Joe and Joe Weather Show. And Joe, you're debuting with a new shot tonight.
I thought I'd try something different.
I can't.
If any of you would like to express your opinion as to this particular angle or whatever like that, feel free to do so. I thought I'd, again, try something a little bit different than what I normally do.
We
And
like it.
it also gives me some freedom. Normally I'm confined to this and that because the tripod and the camera is here, over there. So let's see how this works out.
Can I do the same thing? I guess not. I'm keying out with our fabulous background that we have.
Okay.
All right. So, severe weather across upstate New York and into New England. In fact, our Timothy Veltman, who's one of our regulars on the chat board, is not making the show tonight because the weather was so bad up in the Albany area that it knocked out power and transformers blew up and flames were shooting all over the place, according to the message that he sent me. I have to tell you, first of all, maybe what that slip you made yesterday where you said moderate risk instead of marginal risk.
Right.
Well, probably should have been a moderate risk considering the outcome. Good call. Oftentimes, the best weather calls are the ones that you make by accident.
Yeah, well, interestingly, we said yesterday that the marginal risk area was confined chiefly to the Adirondacks and points north, and just below that was the area of general thunderstorm coverage. Most of New York State really was supposed to be out in the clear with just maybe some showers. And then today I saw that they moved the marginal risk much further south,
yes.
just north of where I am. And we have seen severe weather a stone's throw away to the north. In fact, Joe, here's something at 5:50 today. Now we have, and I put this on my Facebook page. My wife Renata has a bunch of palm trees that are alongside of our driveway, and these things are big. They're big trees or big plants in huge pots. And every other day, she'll fill each pot up with water, more or less, acting as the ballast to keep those pots in place. The way the winds were blowing today, it was rather breezy. We had a wind advisory. And I said, you think maybe we should move them? Well, when we have windy conditions, we move them into a corner to shield them away from the wind. She said, nah, if they've lasted this long, I think they're going to hold up. At 5:50 this afternoon, all of a sudden, we had this humongous wind gust hit our area, hit our house. And sometimes, of the 5 trees, one, maybe two will fall over with a heavy wind. This one gust knocked all 5 of them down flat. It was incredible. I'd say for that 5 or 6 seconds that the winds had to be conservatively 50, maybe even in excess of 55 miles an hour. Otherwise, most of the afternoon, we were seeing gusts of 30, 35, maybe 40 or whatever. And I said, now we'll weather this. One rogue gust. It hasn't done anything since, but boom, down they all went like they were in a bowling match, like the head pin was hit by the ball and they all went down, and all those trees went down too. Unbelievable.
One of the odd things today, Joe, that I saw early this afternoon was SPC. Considering all the thunderstorms and the severe thunderstorm warnings that went up this afternoon over various areas, they put out a mesoscale discussion and they opted not to put up a severe thunderstorm watch, which I guess in hindsight was probably they would have wanted to have reevaluated that particular position. I'm actually a little bit surprised at the extent of the severe weather that's going on. And in fact, let me bring up the radar in the Northeast at the moment. I mean, there's still a line of storms. This radar is about 20 minutes behind, so it's 7:05 Eastern time. So this loop is from about 6:45. This particular site with the Weather Service usually runs about 15 to 20 behind. But that line of storms that moved down south of I-90 and now is moving through from eastern and southern Massachusetts and through parts of Connecticut. That's no shabby line there that's going by. I mean, that's actually rather impressive. So again, I'll just go back to saying that maybe they should have put up the watch box. I'm really shocked at the extent of the showers and storms getting as far south as they are, because my buddy Phil just sent me a picture of the sky where he is in Rocky Point, and it looked like the end of the world. Mrs. Bundy is around somewhere.
Well, I'll tell you.
That's a Alfred Hitchcock Birds reference,
Yes,
by the way.
yes.
For those of you who have never seen the movie, shame on you, but put it on your to-do list.
Well, was it Rod Taylor who slapped Miss? No, no, that was his mother. His they got into a big he got into a big argument with his mother at the house.
Yes.
Mrs. Bundy was the one who was at the diner, always talking about the birds and the species and whatever. So
Right, right.
I get
Yeah.
them confused sometimes.
Well, she is makes an occasional appearance on this show, as we know. So these storms, also they have a high wind warning up just for parts of Massachusetts. I'm going to just get the hazard map up here, and we'll come back to the hurricane watches that are up in the Louisiana Gulf Coast for Delta. But we still have these wind advisories up and down the Hudson Valley to northeast New Jersey, New York City, Long Island, Connecticut, Rhode Island. Much of Massachusetts under a high wind warning. There's also a working special marine warning that is going on at the moment. And I just also, by the way, I was looking at, I know they have the wind advisory, and as you said, you had that renegade gust, I guess, with the front going by of 50 or 55.
That had to be it. That had to be the actual cold front moving on through the area. Because also the winds have been south southwest here, and I could tell I was outside just a little while ago, and you could definitely feel that the winds have turned now into the west northwest. So that must have been the cold front that came on by like a 40-ton Mack truck.
Yes. Now, most of the gusts that I'm seeing, at least as of 7 o'clock, most of the gusts that I'm seeing, for example, around New York City, it's mostly 25 to 35. On Long Island, Mantenacock Point, I'm not 100% sure where that is. I think it's in Nassau County. 35 gusting to 48. 29 to 39 at Jones Beach, 22 to 35 at Farmingdale. The Suffolk County winds are very light, west at 10 at West Hampton, northwest at 8 at East Hampton, 10 to 18 at Montauk. So I guess the push hasn't really reached there yet with the front. The Hudson Valley winds. I'm looking at these winds, Joe. There's nothing here to write anything home about. Montgomery northwest at 7, Otisville northwest at 3, Suffern northwest at 10, Newburgh is 16 to 24, Poughkeepsie is 17 to 32.
Yeah, but the horse already left the barn about an hour
Right.
ago.
So really, the wind advisory was about the front going by and about 10 minutes worth of wind.
Right.
Am I
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
Okay,
Absolutely.
now it's a little different. I noticed that the winds in Connecticut, for example, here we're seeing gusts of, there's some Bridgeport's gusting to 37, 31 gust at Norwalk Harbor, it's the 25 to 35, the average gust. Boston's gusting to 30, Worcester to 24, Nantucket 23 to 31. They'll probably see some gusts that'll be a bit higher than that. I mean, I don't know. Maybe where the high wind warning is, they might have opted for a wind advisory, and perhaps in the other places, I don't know. I don't know. I mean, I don't like to second guess the forecasters. They made decisions based on what they had in front of them yesterday, and I don't think it's I don't think it's it's going to do any good to go back and hindcast.
You think this high wind warning initially was issued? I didn't get a chance to look back by the Boston Weather Service when they had when they were taking over for New York for a while, or
Now Boston, yeah, Boston was definitely doing Upton yesterday until yesterday evening. I don't know whether that has switched back. I've got the. All right, hang on. I gotta. Oh, I
well,
can't.
they have switched back. What I'm saying is that did the meteorologists at Boston, were they the ones that said, hey, we ought to put a wind advisory up for the tri-state area? And then when they handed it off to New York, I guess if anybody at the New York Weather Office out in Upton, Long Island was saying, well, maybe they shouldn't have done that, but we'll keep it up just
For continuity's sake, they probably left it up. If for that reason alone. And I just pulled up the Northeast Regional Radar, which is a little bit more up to date. The last frame on this, actually, it's not. Even this one's way behind. This is from 2238. So we're 33 minutes behind here on this radar. Uh, these storms are much further to the east, but at least you could see how strong they were when they were moving across Massachusetts and Connecticut. I'm going to see if I can pull up the Upton radar, and unfortunately I can't because my flash player, the Weather Service is migrating away from flash to something else. So in the meantime, my flash player is not working. Uh, I have to go into the settings and change it. I'll do that uh, another time. But you get the idea, folks. We've got this all working through, and we're going to see weather conditions improve and a nice shot of cool, chilly air for the next day and a half. And of course, this is all leading into the weekend where it's looking more and more like we're going to get some of the rain, the remnant rains from Hurricane Delta. And Joe, the GFS is insisting on this faster speed. The range might reach southern New England and the Hudson Valley by late Sunday or Sunday evening if the GFS is correct. Maybe even a little bit sooner than that.
Right, right. And I didn't get a chance. I was kind of busy this afternoon lifting up uh, flower pots, so I
Yes.
didn't get it. I did not get a chance really to take too long a look at the Europeans' opinions as to what we were going to get. In fact, I'm going to do that just right now.
You do
So
that now. I'm going to switch over to Hurricane Delta stuff. And boy, to talk about hindcasting. Now, we were struggling yesterday with the idea of, well, how strong is this thing going to get? And of course, as soon as we said that, what happens? It weakened as it approached the Yucatan Peninsula. So we've gone from a category 4 to a category 1 hurricane on the last advisory as it clears the north coast of Mexico, where they still have tropical storm warnings up. Now we're going to see what it does as it gets into the open waters of the Gulf. Everything says it should strengthen. I don't think we're going to see some of the intensity models yesterday that were pushing this up to a category 5. I think clearly I don't think that's going to happen. Famous last words. But it really would be remarkable at this point if it were ever to do that. But I mean, we still could get back to a category 3. But I have to tell you, at least from the standpoint of forecast confidence, you have to want to take a step back considering what happened last night with the weakening that occurred. Apparently, there was some mid-level shear that showed up and distorted the system later yesterday evening because the recon, when it went in there, the pressure hadn't fallen anymore, and the winds had not only not increased, but they actually decreased a little bit. And now, of course, that it moved inland, we saw the impact of that. Hurricane watches are up from High Island, Texas, to Grand Isle, Louisiana. And we also have various tropical storm watches up on either side. On the Texas side, back to Houston, Galveston, and a little bit further down the coast. And on the eastern side, going up to the Mississippi Alabama state line, which includes New Orleans in the tropical storm watch. Uh, the track, I think, is going to take this west of New Orleans, west of Baton Rouge, and maybe even just west of Lafayette and east of Lake Charles. So, at least from the standpoint of the area that got hit the hardest by Laura last time, they might be in a slightly better spot this time around. But I wouldn't write it off yet as far as it taking a little bit of a nudge to the west, because we're talking about a small margin of error here. And I suspect the Hurricane Center is going to go to warnings either soon. They don't. Certainly by tomorrow morning, I think they will go to hurricane warnings, if not sooner.
it surprises me that at least they haven't. I'm sure they put out some kind of statement. I'm sure the local National Weather Service offices, let's say at New Orleans and Shreveport and those places, they probably have already put out some kind of a watch out, so to speak, for Friday into the weekend. I know the governor of Louisiana has talked about, get everything in order now and by Thursday night because Friday it's going to be bad news here. So
This has got to be routine for them. What did you say yesterday? They've had this is this the sixth time this
I think this
season?
is the sixth time that they have appeared that Louisiana has been within the so-called zone of uncertainty or cone of uncertainty. So we've had six different tropical systems. Not all of them have hit, you know, forcefully, but I mean the very fact that this is the sixth time that they've had to watch out for something. It's people, the eyes must be rolling around in their heads because this must be like some kind of a record for them.
And particularly, Joe, because in a number of these events, if you're in the New Orleans area, in several of these, you hardly saw a drop of rain out of it because of where the tracks ultimately wound up. But this is going to uh, it already is in the process of becoming a rather large hurricane. The circulation covers almost the entire Gulf of Mexico, from Florida to Texas down to the Bay of Campeche and over to the Yucatan Peninsula. The satellite presentation this evening, I think, is from the standpoint of a system that is trying to get organized again, seems to be better defined. There's some good outflow that I'm seeing on the loop here. I'd like to see a little bit more as we go through the overnight. And of course, we do have a reconnaissance aircraft that's going in there right now. And maybe by the time we get to the latter part of the show, we'll have some updated observations. I'll pull them up a little bit later on and see what they got. Meanwhile, I just want to scroll up north to our neck of the woods, and you can see the strong upper trough that's moving through the northeast. Very, very well defined. That rotation there on the satellite. That's a very powerful upper air system, which was really the driver here. It was all about the shortwave trough going by. This was not about tropical dew points. It was not about a moistened layer at the bottom of the atmosphere. It was all about the energy aloft and the speed of the fast speed of movement.
Yeah, and as we have said time and again, you talk about a fast moving system, a fast moving tropical system. If it has a pretty good forward speed, add that on to the circulation, the speed of the strongest winds around the center, and that only makes the storm even more ferocious. And that's gonna add on to what may happen to the folks in the immediate path of the storm along the Gulf Coast on Friday.
And I'm just freshening up the tight Gulf of Mexico loop, which centers right on Delta. And again, here this really does show how large the circulation is. And as we go close up, the visible going to infrared with the sunset, you are seeing there's a big blow up of thunderstorms going on where I think the center is. I can't see any kind of an eye here, but definitely seeing a blow up of convection going on. The center has completely cleared the Yucatan Peninsula now, so between now and tomorrow afternoon, this is the period you've got to. I think you have a good 18 hours of strengthening here as this thing moves on up to the northwest. I mean, this is Wednesday. Well, maybe a little bit longer than that. I'll take that back. You probably have at least at the Thursday night, Friday morning for this to strengthen. So we're talking maybe a good 30, 36 hours before it starts to get really close to the Louisiana coastline. So it's got time. If it is going to strengthen, this is the time frame that you're going to see it happen.
Yep. Well, we'll see how it all pans out. It looks like though, Joe, after, and by the way, getting back to what we were talking about 5 or 8 minutes ago, I did look at the European, and the European has the precipitation from Delta's remnants arriving. Get this now, soon after sunset on Sunday, and in fact, by the time we get to Monday morning, it has the entire tri-state area enveloped in steady, albeit light precipitation, but it looks like it's looking more and more like Columbus Day Monday may turn out to be. I hate to say it at this point, it's Wednesday, and we still have 5 days to go, but it's looking more and more like we could be looking at a washout on Columbus Day Monday.
Does it move the rain up through New England because of the drought situation there? They certainly could use another solid soaking rain because that's what the GFS is implying and has been implying for the last couple of days.
It actually kind of starts moving it up, and then it kind of like diminishes the rain, at least in terms of intensity. So if they're looking for a good, hefty soaking rain across much of New England, I don't see it, at least from the European standpoint. The GFS, as you just mentioned, is wetter, but the GFS has been wetter and more robust with this as opposed to the European for the last few days anyway. So
Right. It's
this,
only in this most recent run, really, that the European has actually gone to even showing rain getting here. I mean, we were discussing the last few days how how the GFS, the European wasn't. I'm sorry, the European has only recently gone to showing rain getting here, and because the last couple of days it wasn't showing it ever getting here. Now it
right,
seems to have caved to the GF. I think the GFS. Maybe it's the recent upgrades that they've done, or maybe it's something they've done to the European. I don't know. It just seems like the GFS for our area anyway, and for the areas in the eastern part of the United States. I can't speak to how it's been handling everything else elsewhere, but at least for for the weather that's been impacting the eastern part of the United States, the GFS seems to have been a much better model overall this summer and early fall.
absolutely, I'll agree with you 100%. There were quite a few. Which was the storm that we were discussing? Was that Itzaia? Yeah, it was Itzaia where they
Right.
had the fast movement, and we said, "My goodness, that can't possibly be right." All the other models are much slower and not as vigorous. But sure enough, the GFS. It eventually turned out that all the other models went right to the GFS's camp and said, "Hey, you're right. This is going to be a fast moving system." Yeah, I would agree. The GFS hands down so far has been the model of choice this summer for not just one, but practically all of the tropical systems.
By the way, there is some news on the European model that remind me later on when we're done. I just wrote it down so that I made a notation for myself to bring up. The hurricane tracking models actually line up fairly well with the GFS in terms of speed and have been for the last several days. And you notice it's very tightly clustered here, right up through landfall, except for one or two models that are a handful of miles on the eastern part of the envelope. Almost all of them are on top of each other, going in just west of Lafayette and just east of Lake Charles. And then the remnant low and the remnant low would run up through northern Mississippi, central Tennessee, basically west of the Appalachians and moving into western PA and upstate New York. But remember, usually when remnant lows go up the west side of the Appalachians, we really don't get very much rain here. But the difference here this time around is the fact that we do have this big high that's going to be to our northeast that it's going to feed in a good easterly onshore flow, and that'll help to saturate the bottom of the atmosphere. So I think that's going to help in creating an area of overrunning rain for later Sunday night into Monday. And
Right.
I think that's what the GFS in particular has been keying on much better than the others.
And that onshore flow, you're right, probably will loan itself to help moisten the atmosphere and bring up enough moisture into our area to maybe make Columbus Day Monday an unsettled day. But let's stress Saturday looks like a great day here with just some thin clouds and temperatures in the low to mid 70s. Sunday, a halfway decent day. We may lose the sun later in the day as the moisture from the remnants of Delta approach. But I think right now we can probably hold off on any precip until after sunset on Sunday night. And Monday, well, that's the clinker, so to speak, in
Right.
terms of outdoor activities. If you're going out this weekend to do leaf watching, looking at the fall foliage, by far and away Saturday into at least the first part of Sunday look great. After that, from later Sunday onward, things are going to be going downhill.
Now, I'm bringing up the Hurricane Delta intensity models, and one of the things you'll notice is they all do re-strengthen it, varying degrees, from a mid-range to strong Cat 2 to one model taking it up to a Cat 4. Now, this peak in intensity occurs.
What happened to the 190 knot winds?
Well, that's gone now. So now we're only got no, now it's only got to it's up to 120 knots, but
Right.
on that one model. Now I've put two red lines here. The 36-hour time frame is 8 a.m. Friday morning. Now at this point, it's still a fair distance offshore. The landfall, I would say, is probably let's say around 2 o'clock. That's the middle red line I just drew, and you'll notice that the all the models weaken it as it goes into that approximate landfall time. So that could be a reflection of that shelf water, that cool shelf water that the Hurricane Center forecasters have been talking about. and maybe an increase in some wind shear as the storm approaches the coast. We have seen this season that being causing impact on some of the storms, but we've also seen the reverse, where some of them at the last minute had decided to strengthen. Sally was one of them. Hannah was another. I would just say that the calendar favored that happening for those two storms because they were earlier in the season, obviously. Now that we're talking October 8th, October 9th, the water temperatures do start to cool because of the shrinking amount of daylight. And we've seen a couple of cold fronts make it down into the Gulf of Mexico too. So that has also helped to cool some of the waters that are close to the coast. Will be interesting to see how that ultimately plays. And then of course you see the collapse in the strength as it goes inland, which is pretty obvious. So here's the latest Hurricane Center forecast, which at 4 p.m. 22.1 north, 89.5 west. So that's about 480 miles south of New Orleans, and a track to the northwest at 17, where they curve it to the north. The Hurricane Center at 1 a.m. Friday has it as a major hurricane, and then they have it underneath major hurricane status at 1 p.m. Friday when it's just off the coast. So the Hurricane Center is looking for a landfall probably at around 2 or 3 p.m. Friday, and that is faster than what we've seen from the last couple of days. And then as we move on, the remnant low at 120 hours is in southern Kentucky, south central Kentucky at 1 p.m. Sunday. So at this point, you probably will be seeing rain up to maybe southern New Jersey, southern Pennsylvania, Maryland, Delaware, and into Virginia and West Virginia and Ohio. And WPC, from the weather prediction folks, with their rainfall forecast, if you just follow the track of the heavy rain, the yellowish area is 5 inches or more. Then you go to the darker reds, which is 3 to 4 inches, and then those start to shrink away. But they still, Joe, have the purple that's over Pennsylvania, the northern half of New Jersey, Long Island, lower Hudson Valley, New York City. That's the I would say that's the 1.75 to 2.5 inches. But they're still giving New York State, much of New York State, and much of New England between 3/4 of an inch to 1.5 inches. I guess that's fair given what the model guidance is.
And something interesting also to note, Joe, I won't say it's unique, but I think virtually every tropical landfalling system we've seen this season made its initial landfall in the dark of night, and this one is going to come in during the early to mid afternoon hours, apparently on Friday in full daylight.
Yeah,
So
I was thinking about that earlier today.
so that's kind of a unusual. That also means, of course, that unlike the other systems where it comes in the middle of the night, the local, national news channels, they say, well, who's going to be watching at 3 in the morning or 4 in the morning? But now, if this is in the afternoon of Friday, you've got to believe that they're going to have, I would hope, uh, more than just a few reporters on the scene reporting like the good old days, if you will. Uh, the days when we would see this in the hurricane coverage, and the event is actually happening. Whereas the way the TV stations think now, they think, well, 3 o'clock in the morning, not much of an audience, not worth really going whole hog into major coverage. We'll cover it and we'll show it later under the light of day. This may be a little bit different. It may actually uh, force the various news services to break away from events of recent days and
Yes.
force them to report on something other
Let's
than
let's switch from a global pandemic to hurricane coverage.
correct.
Oh, brother. All right, so we've got I got the upper air up so we can take a look at the flavor of all of this and what's driving it. And then you have this big upper high that's sitting east of the Florida coast. Delta moving around the periphery of that upper high, and it's going to move, unlike Gamma, which remember was sitting in sort of a no man's land flow with ridges on either side and a big area in the Gulf of Mexico where there was no flow at all. It's a little different this time around. You actually have a little weak shortwave in West Texas that's creating this alleyway for Delta to move northward and then turn northeastward over time. Of course, we're protected here with this westerly flow across the plains, the Great Lakes, the northwest flow that goes all the way down into North Carolina. This is the jet stream, by the way, for Thursday night, 8 o'clock on the GFS. And as we roll along, the East Coast upper trough pulls out. Just folks, just watch all the mechanics here as these weather systems just move along and how each one sort of impacts the other one that follows, and also the one that's following coming into the West Coast having some impact in the overall flow of Delta as well. But you see how it moves inland. The westerly winds pull up quite a bit here as we go into Sunday morning. Those westerly winds now, the base of those westerly winds, New York State and New England. And here's the reflection of what's left of Delta lifting up into northern Mississippi, and you can see the upper high that's still over the Bahamas. So you've got this ridge that's built up a bit into North Carolina and Virginia. So Delta's moving around that, and it's also being pushed along by the deep trough that's moving into the northwest. And as we go forward, you'll see that northwest trough just progresses. And here's the short wave that represents Delta. Now your westerly winds in the northeast have pulled all the way up into Canada, and you've got a southwest flow that runs from South Carolina to about New York City. This is the reason why I think you're going to see this range move up relatively quickly. That trough in the west is just racing eastward, so it's instead of getting pulled up into that trough, it's just basically getting kicked out to the east. And as a result, we're going to get rain out of it instead of it getting all pulled to our west.
The kicker.
Yes.
It's a big kicker. Yeah.
And that kicker, by the way, eventually digs down another trough into the east around Wednesday, Thursday, and yet another one follows toward the end of next week and going into the weekend of the 17th, 18th. There's a pretty monstrous looking trough in the east in the longer range. I'm amazed. One of the things that's amazed me over the last few days is that the changes that the model runs have been making with regards to trying to make a ridge in the east, even if it's only doing it for a few days, and then reverting back to this seemingly dominant northwest flow. Look, on day 9, there's a big ridge building up the west coast again, and a deep trough in the east. I mean, this is a cold look. This verifies that weekend of the 17th, 18th is going to be pretty cold across the Great Lakes, Northeast and Mid-Atlantic and Southeastern part of the U.S. And I'm sure it's going to change to some degree. I'm just amazed, I guess, at how the long range seems to keep trying to show a warmer look, and then we keep getting into the short range where this flow from Canada just remains so dominant, and it carries it right through the 16-day period.
And for example, the most recent experimental 3 to 4 week run of the from the Climate Prediction Center had virtually the entire country in above normal temperatures. How could that possibly be if we have that trough in the east continuing to pull on down all that cool air from central and southern Canada? It just would not work.
Yeah.
Maybe it'll change their mind this Friday.
I'm looking here. I just pulled up the Canadian loop, which we've been using almost daily over the last few weeks. And I guarantee you, I'm leaving this. We're going to look at this every day as we go into the winter months. One of the things I'm seeing right off the bat, as far as Canada is concerned, is these weather systems and these troughs and upper lows that are running around in Canada don't seem to be moving with any particular speed to new locations. I mean, you just continually have this sort of northwest flow that just goes on and on. The west, unfortunately, at least some of that rain that's off the Pacific Northwest, they're going to get some of that over the next 7 days, which is good news. And we still see what the WPC folks showing rain. I'll just refresh everybody. Let me just bring that map back up for a moment. But I didn't touch upon the fact that they do have rain for Washington, Oregon, into Northern California, even showing some showers down into Southern California. Although it is a bit less than what we saw yesterday, but wildfires have erupted again, and the rain at least is going to be useful in quenching those wildfires. or quelching those wildfires, if that's the better word. But the mechanics in Canada, Joe, don't show any signs of really changing here, and I'm not seeing anything upstream to the west that's going to go in there and sort of dislodge all these players. So uh, maybe the models are overzealous in trying to move chess pieces around rather than just leaving them where they are. In which case, we're going to continue with these shots of cool air coming down on a regular basis.
Right, every 3 or 4 days, it looks like. And if you look, in my brief look at the European a short while ago, it seems like every few days, a shot of, in some cases, even moderate to heavy moisture coming into parts of the Great Lakes in the Northeast. So you get that kind of pattern combined with the winds, flowing out of that northwest direction. It seems difficult for me to believe that we could have prolonged warmth. That's the that was the forecast, but I'm assuming that as we continue in the days to come, we're going to see more and more of a concentration of cooler as opposed to warmer conditions in the areas east of the Mississippi.
Snow lovers should take note on this surface map that every day we look at it, there's just a little bit more blue there. So for you, we're seeming to go in the right direction. Most of what's showing up is in Canada, but in a few weeks, it'll probably be showing up in the mainland U.S. In fact, the low that is going into New Brunswick on the northwestern part of it, up into I guess that's southern Labrador or eastern Quebec, a little bit of dark blue snow showing up there. That low gets really wrapped up, by the way, gets down to a 977 by tomorrow morning. So the gradient in New England is pretty tight from Maine down into New Hampshire and eastern Massachusetts into tomorrow morning. So it's going to be pretty windy overnight into tomorrow in northern New England. We'll be a bit breezy tomorrow, at least for a while, until the high builds
Oh
in.
yeah,
And
yeah.
and yeah, and then we're dry. We have no weather issues here. Of course, now we're up to Saturday morning. Uh, you see Delta coming in during tomorrow afternoon. The GFS actually has it maybe a little bit further south than where the Hurricane Center has it. Just coming ashore at about 8 o'clock tomorrow evening. The Hurricane Center would imply that happening a bit faster. Saturday morning, afternoon, the remnant low in northern Mississippi. But here's the thing, Joe. The next high of size north of Lake Huron. This is at 1 a.m. Sunday. Weak cold fronts coming through. Our winds are about to go around to the northeast, setting up the onshore flow. Meanwhile, in the west, some rains come into the Pacific Northwest, and yes, some snow in the northern Rockies. Snow fiends. But here's your rain. Sunday morning, rain, the northern edge of the rain Sunday morning, southern Delmarva to about Washington, D.C. to Hagerstown, with a surface low near Memphis. And your high is in Quebec. Rain on our door, just about reaching New York City by Sunday evening, and a solid rain, New Jersey, most of PA, Maryland, Delaware. The GFS is not showing, like, we're not talking huge amounts of rain here. It looks more like it looks to me like an overrunning rain that you would see anytime in the mid to late fall. And it kind of takes a while for this to get out of the way because the high takes forever to get out of the way. But you look at the system, Joe, coming in to the west and how quickly it moves across the U.S. It really is acting as the kicker here to bring this up and then push it out. We're still showing lingering showers into Tuesday. Sort of a second cold front goes by, and
Yeah.
then all of a sudden there's some kind of wave on that front Tuesday night into Wednesday with some showers down from New England down to Virginia, finally improving. Oh my God, poor Sal Blandino at this point. Uh, so so now we're up to Thursday. Here comes the next short wave, and yeah, that's a little bit of snow at is that up to Sault Ste. Marie maybe in northern Michigan? But here's the next cold front already on Thursday with a nice 1037 high coming down out of Canada. A little lake effect there late next week, folks, over the Great Lakes, if this is right. And then here comes the next one, the stronger low, and showing even some patches of snow in parts of upstate New York and western Pennsylvania by day 11. Oh, my. Oh, gee, this was one cold run of the GFS. Who knows how real this is, but it does at least go back to what I said. I think this northwest flow in Canada it's just too overwhelming, and the models seem to be just having a difficult time with it.
Frank Riccio says that his niece is getting married outside on October 18th, and they may need winter coats if that verifies.
Well, let's
Yeah,
just for laughs, and folks, again, for those of you who are new, we always view these models outside of the past the day 5 time frame, which with every passing day we view it with greater and greater skepticism. You try to kind of get a flavor of what the upper pattern is and put it into some sort of perspective. And past performance is no guarantee of future outcome, but oftentimes that's the only thing we have to go on. And the fact that we've been in this pattern since the beginning of September, really, where we're getting these shots of cool air coming down on a fairly regular basis, there's really no reason for me to think that's going to change anytime soon. And I'm just looking at I'm going to bring up the anomalies going into the long range. And my God, it's just really, this is day 10. You're probably 30 or 40 seconds behind me, but when you'll see it in a moment. So after Tuesday, the latter part of this week is a little bit below normal. Then you get a brief above normal for about a handful of hours Thursday night into Friday. Below normal Fridays, everywhere east of the Rockies is below normal from Friday through next weekend.
I
And
see it
it's
now. I'm
yeah,
seeing
and
it.
you'll see, Joe's. I'm running through three from then all the way to the end of the forecast period. It's below normal all over the place in the eastern part of the United States.
Yeah.
So the GFS is not, at least the operational GFS is not going with the idea of some sort of warmer pattern across the United States in the longer term. I don't know. Maybe it's a one-run wonder. I didn't get to look at the earlier run, but the trend is your friend. I want to go back. By the way, I'm going to come back full screen. I want to go back, by the way, to something you said yesterday. And oftentimes you get these clues and you see them in hindsight. But it was a very interesting statistic that you threw out yesterday about the fact that in New York City, that 80-degree high on September 10th, the last time we've seen 80-degree high, is the earliest that 80s have cut off, assuming we don't get an 80-degree high through the month of October.
Not the earliest, but one of the earliest.
One of the earliest.
Rob Friedowitz only said one of the earliest. He did not specify what is the earliest date for the last 80-degree temperature, but that probably is about as early as it comes.
Right.
And we haven't seen anything close to 80 degrees, especially in recent days.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I just the fact that now some years it doesn't matter. We've had winter, if you go back to 13, 14 or 14, 15 and you look at the autumns that went into those winters, I don't think you would have expected, you would have forecast the kind of the winters that those were based on the autumns that we had, because as my mind recalls them, they weren't particularly cool autumns. I'll have to go back and actually look at the numbers for sure, but I don't ever remember thinking, oh my, this autumn is giving us a sign that maybe the winter is going to be a colder and snowier one. But I'm just these early clues that we've had, and Joe, as well as I do, this could be all fine and dandy. We could have everything going this way through October, through November, and in the first part of December. And then all of a sudden in the middle of December, the switch will be flipped. The ridge will be up in the east. The trough will be out in the west. And we'll be seeing temperatures 10 or more degrees above normal on a regular basis. So, but, all you have to work with is what's in front of you. So if you're a snow lover, you should certainly not take all of what you're seeing as a negative sign. It can't be any, obviously you know what the worst case outcome is for you, but you're seeing things in the direction, and I guess you would want to see them. And while I'm on that subject, why don't we just take a look for laughs, because it is October 7th, and we're going to start seeing all sorts of Siberian snow cover tweets and posts pretty soon. So why don't we just take a quick look at what the 10-day snowfall is going to be across Asia. And man, this is not snow cover. It is. We're just looking at snow that's going to be falling. Potential for snow over the next 10 days to 2 weeks, and just I'll run it from the beginning. I'll have to start once we get to October 10th. I'll pull up the snow cover map so we can see the progress of snow cover. And at least during the next 2 weeks, there is a fair amount of snow that is going to be falling through eastern and central Siberia down, well, almost to 40 degrees north. The southern flank of this is rather far south and relatively early. I'd be curious to see what the first Dr. Judah Cohen posts are about this and what he thinks uh, with regards to it. I would just caution those of you who look at this sort of stuff, and I do look at it along with other forecasters that I know, that there's no silver bullet, and it's only one of 1,000 indicators you could look at that will tell you that it's going to be a snowier winter than normal, and then it turns out not to be. so, so
But
there.
there's still some pretty good numbers up there, especially in the green,
Yes.
28, 29. You know, that's not bad for the 23rd of October.
Well, I think the other thing we should probably look at that is equally important, because it's all fine and dandy for all that snow to fall, but it can melt in between if there's warm ups. And just to check to see the anomalies, interestingly enough, a vast chunk of Siberia, if I'm going to roll it back from the beginning here, is is I'm just running it through the 16-day period and kind of doing it really fast, but the central and western part of Siberia start off above normal, but as you move through the forecast period, it looks like there's an increasing air. Well, I mean, relatively speaking, there's an increasing area of below normal temperatures throughout much of that region. So if you do get all that snow with below normal temperatures that are going to dominate, that would tend, the last date on this now is October 23rd. That would suggest, that you would probably not only put the snow on the ground, but you're likely to keep it there, which is what the snow cover indicator is really all about. The extent of the snow cover in Siberia, and how far south it is, and the western, and how much snow you have on the western flank. So
I'm
what?
sorry to laugh.
That's
I'm
all
sorry
right.
to laugh. My wife came in. She looked at me, then she pointed to where the camera is, and she goes,
Oh,
thumbs
she
down.
doesn't like the shot.
She doesn't like the shot. She thinks
No, you sound like you're in a tin can.
I sound like I'm in a tin can.
Oh,
What
I
makes
I don't know. He seems to sound okay through my headsets.
Yeah, you have to put it back.
Well, I
I
mean,
guess right now? Would you like me to put it back now?
can we not direct the show while it's on the air? Okay. Can we just we'll wait till the next show. Well, what if you mic'd yourself with a portable mic?
I should get a portable mic, shouldn't I? That might be interesting.
Take a look, Joe.
Yes.
Look you'll see it. I have a portable mic on a mic stand, and it's cheap.
Okay.
Okay, so yeah, go ahead
And
and
it's good.
pick one up and plug it in, and then maybe that'll help.
All right. And thank you very much, Joe Miano, for hitting super chats tonight.
Joe Miano messaged me today because he was on he was on 87 when those storms moved through upstate New York, and he had messaged me right before he was going on the thruway, and sure enough, he had to get off the thruway because the big tree came down in one of those storms that came down right across the highway. So, and if you get stuck on 87, at times you're 40 miles between exits.
Right.
So that is not a good place to be, especially if you're like at the midpoint, if you're 20 miles from either exit.
Exactly. Like New Baltimore.
Oh, yeah, exactly. Oh my. So we're back up full screen. Let me bring up the latest from the chairman, who did go to the doctor today. and he is feeling a little better. So he's making progress, and he's certainly feeling well enough that he's sending Briller Jeopardy questions and answers for us. So that's a good thing. His sugar level has dropped. Uh, the blood pressure is still high, but he's working on it. So, Mr. Rayo, you have the questions tonight,
I do.
apparently.
I do.
That's what he says.
Really? Well, if I have them, I'll take one check here. Um,
While you're doing that, let me tell you this new European news that broke today. So apparently, the folks that have the European model, they've thrown in the towel, and they're going to be allowing they're going to be releasing all sorts of maps. The maps that used to be proprietary and you weren't allowed to share, well, guess what? It's all going to be free.
really?
Yes.
That'd be
So you're going to see. I'm thinking that Levi Cowan must have gotten the news, so maybe he's going to find some room to add the in between hours of the European so that all of us can see it. And maybe we'll have the snow cover maps that will be free for us not only to see, but to put up on our screens. So that would be a good thing, be an interesting thing to have. So good news from the folks of the European. Thank you very much. We all appreciate it.
I'm sorry, Joe, but I've never understood where Scott or how Scott posts these questions to me.
Did he
I
send them
checked,
to you on Messenger?
I looked on Messenger.
Did
Nothing
he
was there.
send them to you on Messenger on your weather page?
Well, that's the thing, Joe. I'm so confused here. This brand new setup that they forced on us
Which I
is
like, and apparently nobody else does.
I
Uh,
I I hate it. I'm not even.
okay, so go to your weather page, and on the left, you'll see home, and then you'll see inbox, and that's where your messages are.
Well, I'll go back there and I'll check.
That's
I'm just
where all those Eastern European women send me, messages that they want to be my friend.
ah, ah, oh God. Um, I don't
If I
see.
get, by the way, I don't know if they're watch. I doubt that they're watching, but oh, he just resent them to you on Messenger. But on the YouTube on the YouTube live streams, which if you watch them on the replay, there is a comment section. And lately, this started.
Okay, here they are.
Okay, this started during the pandemic. Over the summer, I'm getting that are posting X-rated websites in the comment section. There are women who are trying to get my money, posting how much they love me. Uh, so let me just respond to those who have told them how much they love me. I don't love you. So okay, that's it. I don't care about you. I don't love you. I don't want to date you. I don't want to talk to you. You are usually immediately reported as spam. As for those that are putting up all these sex links, really, I mean seriously, do you think that just stop? Okay, I mean you're doing the same thing. I'm reporting them as spam, but just don't waste your time. You must have something better to do. It's got to be a toilet you can clean somewhere in your in your dirty bathroom that hasn't been touched in years. But no matter. So we're going down that particular road. That was my rant for the day. Go
Okay.
on. So what are the questions on Briller Jeopardy?
All right. So let's see. For Mr. Chiaffi, baseball rules apply. I guess three strikes and you're out.
And
How many?
four balls, and I walk.
Four balls and you walk. How many of the top 10 places cities in the United States average the most snow per year, according to NOAA?
I'm
And
sorry. Repeat the question. How many of the what?
how many of the top 10 places or top 10 cities in the United States average the most snow per year, according to NOAA? And he gives you a hint. Alaska appears 3 times.
I'm sorry. I'm not grasping the question. Give it to me again.
How
I,
many how many of the top 10 places?
right.
Then he needs a comma. See that, and he doesn't space these space put a space between the words. How many of the top 10 places, comma cities, comma in the United States average the most snow per year, according to NOAA. And Alaska appears
Well,
to
if
be.
the top 10 cities average the most snow for year, isn't the answer 10? I'm not sure I'm not understanding what
I
we're
think he
looking.
wants you to list. I think he wants you to list the the top 10 places. He wants.
Oh, okay. All right. So if we're thinking major cities, right?
I wouldn't call these major
All
cities
right.
though.
All right. This is going to be real fun. I mean, it could be uh, some obscure mountaintop in the Sierras. Stampede Pass. I mean, I don't.
Stampede Pass,
Yeah.
big one.
I don't know. It could be anywhere. I mean, we know that Syracuse is the snow capital of the U.S. in terms of average
Base
snowfall.
hit, Joe. Base hit. You got one out of the
All right,
10.
so Syracuse is on the list.
Right.
I'm thinking Marquette, Sault Ste. Marie.
Let's see. Sault Ste. Marie, you got another hit. That's 2 out of 10. Marquette, you got yet another one.
Okay, so Marquette. All
You're
right,
rolling, Joe. You're rolling.
hold on. All right, so that's 3. So
No, my wife is right. I'm getting tired of looking up.
yeah.
I'm looking up at you, you know?
Well, it gets rid of one of your chins. I had my dear makeup artist who I worship the quicksand she walks on, Sharon Slattery. She used to always say to me when we were sitting in the makeup chair at Pix, she goes, "Would you sit still so I can get rid of one of your chins?" And you know what? She's a makeup artist, and she would say things like that to the women, which was just amazing to watch.
Oh,
When your makeup artist says that to you, you pay attention, okay? Because
exactly.
she's there to make you look good. All right, so I got Syracuse, Sault Ste. Marie, Marquette, 3. I mean, this could go anywhere.
I'll give you a hint. Many people in New England have a bumper sticker that says, I visited here, or I went to this,
Oh,
reached
Mount Washington?
Mount Washington. That's 4.
Okay. I thought you were going to talk about the welcome sign in southern Vermont, which says, "Welcome to Vermont, now please leave." No offense to Bill Rogers. I know you're from Vermont. We love you.
Yep.
But southern Vermont can be a little touchy sometimes. All right, so I got 4: Syracuse, Sault Ste. Marie, Marquette, Mount Washington. Uh,
Think a place
have we
in what?
have we run out of places in the Northeast?
No, we still have at least one more in the Northeast.
Well, if you're saying at least one more, then there's probably more. You're implying that there's more than one.
It's one. No, there's one more.
One more. Okay. So is it a small place or a big place?
It's a small place.
So I'm going to say Tug Hill, upstate New York, Watertown, that area.
No, strike 2.
All right.
How
Uh,
about as far north in the Northeast as you can go?
Further north than Caribou.
I'm going to give it to you. Ding, ding, ding. You
Okay.
got it.
All right. My phone just dinged. Oh, that was not planned. That was funny. All right, so I've got 5 of them so far, but I can't miss any more. All
All
right,
right.
so are we done with the Northeast?
We're done with the Northeast, but remember, I told you 3 of these are from Alaska. That's actually Scott's hint.
All right, so
I'm going to give you another hint for one of the Alaskan ones.
all right.
Think oil tanker that
Oh,
spewed.
like the Valdez?
There you go. That's number 6.
Really, Valdez, Alaska?
Yeah.
Okay, that's 6. There's 2 other spots in Alaska.
Yeah, but you're never going to get these 2.
All right, yeah, they're going to be obscure places, correct?
Right.
In some valley or somewhere west of Juneau inland or whatever it is.
Right.
All right, so let's go. We've got 6. Two
How
more.
about
Two
how about a
more.
soft drink city in California?
How about a what?
A soft drink city in California.
Wait,
The name of a soft drink.
Oh, a soft drink. Oh, okay. A soft drink like Pepsi Cola, California, something like that. Um, Oh God, a soft drink. Uh, let's see.
I think it's a soft drink. I'm not even sure if they still make it anymore.
Well, what is it?
Shasta,
Oh, Shasta, California. Mount Shasta.
Mount Shasta, California. Right.
Okay. I cheated, but no matter. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There's 3
Right.
left.
Right.
Okay. Uh, God,
You
this
know,
is really crazy.
you're not going to get the last
So, what
two.
were the 2 Alaska ones? Oh
Yakutat
yeah, please. I'm not. Yeah, right. Okay. And what's the other
and
one?
and Talkeetna,
I was just in downtown Talkeetna. I just
Talkeetna,
right.
Alaska.
I mean, I don't know if it's the equivalent of Encino, but you, you never know. All right. Well, I wasn't too shabby though. I got 6 of them without too much effort.
And the last California one was Blue Canyon, Alaska.
Oh, okay. All right. All right. So what's the next question?
That's it.
Oh, that's it. Good. Okay, good. That took us to 8:02 Eastern time.
Yes.
All
Late.
right. Um, any parting thoughts, Mr. Rayo, on where we're going
No,
these days?
no, I'm going to move this camera as soon as I'm off air with you.
Well,
Make my
you
wife happy.
well, she's the director.
That's right. And the
Eh,
executive producer.
She's the executive producer. She's the
Right.
director. She's the audio person. She's
And she also does my naturally straight white hair.
yes, every other week. A cup of henna to a gallon of water.
Yes.
All right, so
Mire que quiere cosa que para la henna
henna
rinse.
rinse. That actually, there were 2 things funny about that. One is the way he says it. It's just where he's going with this. So even if you don't understand Spanish, you
Right.
you certainly can understand where that is all headed, and
Right.
the priceless look that Lucille Ball gives him when
Yes.
when he says La señora de use henna rinse. It's just brilliant.
Now the best part was the was when he was going back and forth translating, and he says to the woman who portrays his mother, he starts talking in English, and then he starts with, "Oh my goodness," and then he's trying to revert back, and he starts
Right.
laughing. He can't stop laughing.
That was one of that was not planned. That was not scripted. That was an
Yeah,
ad lib.
it was an ad.
That was an ad lib. It actually happened in another episode too, an earlier episode in the first season,
Right.
where he kind of flips it back and forth. That they rode with it, and that's in front of that was done in front of a live audience. So that was very good. That was definitely
Yep.
very good. All right, so
Tomorrow night, then, right?
what's that?
I'll see you tomorrow night at a completely different angle.
Tomorrow night at 7 o'clock Eastern time, and of course, thank you for those that joined the live stream tonight, because apparently everybody else is watching tonight's debate. The things we have to compete with, Joe, a global we have a hurricane coming, but we're competing against a global pandemic and another sideshow that's going to be going on tonight. Without being political here, I'm just making a TV observation.
Yes,
Um,
but we do have one thing added: plexiglass.
yeah, exactly. I mean, it's just the whole thing is just every day it gets more and more surreal. I don't know where it ends. I'll tell you where it ends. It ends with the Category 5 hurricane that develops in the Atlantic, becomes extratropical, and produces a record-breaking snowstorm across much of the Northeast sometime during the month of November
It probably will start
or late October.
first thing on the morning of November 3rd.
Right, exactly. All right, have a good night. Thanks, folks, for being here. Joe Mayano, thank you for hitting Super Chat tonight. Really appreciate it. And we'll see you tomorrow at 7 o'clock Eastern Time. Good night.